I would like to preface, as the title of the video suggests, that the following video is not about the shoddy and anomaly-free crop circles made by the 5 minutes of fame-seeking fraudsters that are regularly pulled out as jokers by the skeptics on the subject, and those who are regularly ridiculed by the media. Instead, I will talk about crop circles with mysterious origins and mysterious properties for which there is simply no adequate explanation covering all their properties. Of course, I will talk about how the media still tries to ridicule the subject in the eyes of the uninformed, but all in all, in this video, I will talk about real crop circles, the ones which origins and possible ways of formation are unclear, which show many unexplained anomalies, and which take on increasingly complex geometric shapes as the decades go by. By the way, this topic is so long and complex that I had to split the video into 2 parts, so here is the first part. Crop circles in the past. Since the subject has only come up in the last 50, 60 years, many people think that the phenomenon itself is new, even though it has been puzzling people for hundreds of years. In 1678, an English pamphlet entitled The Mowing Devil, or Strange News out of Hertfordshire, was published about a farmer who reported that one night his land seemed to be on fire. The next morning he noticed that the cornfield had been mown down as perfectly as mortal man could not have done in a single night. Although this case is often cited by crop circle researchers as the first documented crop circle, it actually bears little resemblance to modern-day formations. While in the pamphlet the grain stalks are cut off, in the actual crop circles they remain intact and are bent and twisted together in an unrealistic manner. In 1686, an English naturalist, Robert Plot, in his book, The Natural History of Staffordshire, reported rings or arches of fungi and suggested air currents from the sky as an explanation. Amateur scientist John Rand Capron, in a letter to the editor of Nature in 1880, describes the formation of several circular shapes of flattened grain in a field under suspicious circumstances and probably due to cyclonic winds, and writes, "Seen from a distance, they seem circular spots," all of which showed much the same character, that is, a few upright stalks as a center, many flattened stalks with their heads fairly evenly spaced in a circular direction around the center, and standing grain at the edges of the circles forming a wall. In 1932, archaeologist E.C. Kirwan observed 4 dark rings in a field at Stoughton Down, near Chichester, but was only able to examine one, a ring in which the barley was flattened while the inner area was very slightly stacked. In 1963, Patrick Moore described a crater in a Wiltshire potato field which he thought was probably caused by an unknown meteorite. In nearby wheat fields, several circular and elliptical areas were found where the wheat had been crushed. A famous case was the circle known only as the saucer nest, which was created in Tully in 1966. A farmer witnessed a saucer-shaped vehicle rising to a height of 10-12 meters in a swamp and then flying away. He found an oval track almost 10 meters long and 7.5 meters wide, where the grass had curved clockwise and flattened to the water line, and the reeds had been torn out of the swamp. A local policeman, the Royal Australian Air Force, and the University of Queensland concluded that natural causes such as a downdraft, a phenomenon known as a dust devil, or a water jet were likely to have caused the phenomenon while completely ignoring the witness's UFO sighting. 7 years later, in 1973, G.J. Odgers, the director of press relations for the Department of Defense, told a journalist that the saucer was probably debris lifted by the dust devil, or Willy Willy. Well, again, this was a typical case of a witness being taken for a fool and assumed to be unable to distinguish between flying debris and a flying craft in the shape of a saucer. It's a bit like when witnesses see a UFO with unexplained flight characteristics, but the case is officially closed by saying it was just a weather balloon or Venus. Ridiculous. I will continue in a moment, but first I would like to ask you, if you like the content you see, to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment with your opinion. Thank you very much. characteristics of real crop circles. Well, while in the past simple, regular, circular shapes appeared in grain tables, over time they have dazzled researchers with increasingly complex and precise patterns, leading many to suspect that they might not be caused by known processes. Over the past 30 years, many scientific studies have been carried out by numerous researchers around the world using samples collected from hundreds of real crop circles. These studies have revealed anomalies that were never present in the insignificant creations of crop circle-making fraudsters eager to attention. These are anomalies, several of which are present in every original crop circle. These anomalies have been collected by Janet Osibard, who has been researching the mystery of crop circles for more than 25 years. Let's take them in a row. The first anomaly is the so-called germination anomaly. This means that seeds within a crop circle or a particular shape germinate and develop at a different rate than outside the patterns. In some cases, the rate of growth may accelerate. In others, it may slow down, as shown in this picture. The left side of the picture shows a sample taken from the center of the crop circle. The center shows a sample taken from the edge of the circle, and the right side shows a sample taken from the intact area of the same crop field. The second anomaly is elongated nodes on the affected grain. In many cases, however, they are not only elongated but also bent at several points. This is not the same as the phenomenon of phototropism, where plants turn towards the sun to get as much light as possible. In this case, the plants simply lie on the ground, which is strange because it does not happen in nature. If a person tried to do the same, the stem would simply break or be damaged. And then we haven't even talked about the so-called tree circles, when these anomalies happen to trees specifically. Well, I'd like to see a fraudster who could reproduce that with a plank. The third anomaly is called expulsion cavities or holes. The nodes on the mature grain sometimes burst from the inside out, while the rest of the grain remains intact. This may be due to some force or energy that these nodes can no longer withstand. Many people have thought that of all the energies we know, only microwaves can do this, because they have the characteristic of heating things from the inside out. However, microwaving healthy grain in a microwave oven disproved this, as not once in hundreds of experiments did the nodes burst out. Instead, the grain stalks dried out completely as the moisture was removed. The fourth anomaly is the case of disappearing seeds. In some crop circles, most of the seeds literally disappear, and in some cases only one row of seeds on the stalk is missing. This rules out the possibility that they might have been eaten by birds, and in such cases there are simply too many missing. The fifth anomaly is a clear sign of heat traces that have been detected in many crop circles, such as this 2001 formation in England, which complexity alone rules out the possibility of hoax. In this circle, burnt thistles were found protruding from the flattened area, as well as dried and curled up grass clumps. These looked as if they had been formed by some kind of hot, swirling energy. In this 2008 formation, also in England, wheatgrass was found, some of which had been scorched. And in this 1994 formation, chalkstones were found with molten meteoric dust on their surface that solidified after cooling, leaving a brown layer on the surface of the stones, while the underside of the same chalkstones remained white. The sixth anomaly is the presence of dead flies. In 1998, hundreds of tiny dead flies were discovered on the detached corn stalks of a crop circle in Sherrill, but none were found anywhere else in the field. To this day, dead flies are found in crop circles, and in 2004, dead slugs were also found in a formation. The seventh anomaly is the emergence of special materials, such as the one found in 1997 in the Netherlands, in a formation of several circles. This white, spongy substance was a kind of copolymer composed of butyl acrylate and styrene. In 2007, magnesium carbonate hydrate was discovered in another crop circle. It was shown that none of these substances occur naturally, so the question arises, who or what created them, and why were they present in the formations? You can't just buy these in a shop, by the way. The eighth anomaly is the appearance of shadow shapes. Of course, after the grain is harvested, the crop circles disappear, leaving no trace of them. In many cases, however, the shape of the previous year's crop circle reappears in the new crop as a kind of shadow shape. At Barbary Castle in Wiltshire, plants grown in such a shadow formation were longer and stronger than those grown outside of it. This is not the same as the germination anomaly I discussed earlier, as we are talking about newly planted grain, which have nothing to do with the crop circle seeds. As it turns out, this is a growth anomaly caused by a change in the crystal structure of the surface soil, which confirms the hypothesis that the presence of energies that modify the intensity of the soil, and thus its productivity, is the cause of the formation of crop circles. According to geologists, such crystalline transformations cannot occur in surface soil anywhere on the planet because they would require enormous heat and pressure. We simply do not know of any energy that could do this at the surface. And when the snow melts on the area where the crop circle used to be, it's another interesting sight. The ninth anomaly is the distortion of the magnetic field, which can be easily detected with a simple compass. Within the formations, the needle pointing north was no longer pointing north. The 10th, rarer anomaly is the distortion of time within the crop circles. They tested taking one clock inside the circle and leaving another outside. In a short period, the two clocks showed different times. The 11th anomaly is malfunctioning or broken instruments. Some instruments, when exposed to a strong electromagnetic field, start to malfunction, such as the spinning of compass needles in the Bermuda Triangle or the malfunctioning of navigation instruments. Malfunctions also affect cameras and camcorders, causing them to focus poorly or often burn out images taken here. But if you move over a little, everything is back to normal. Phones and smartwatches can be similarly disrupted. The 12th anomaly is the placement of the grain. It doesn't take much perception to notice the difference between the placement of the stalks in the fake and the real grain. In this formation, which emerged in 1999, it is easy to see what I am talking about. It's not just the complexity of the shape itself, but even the inclination of the grain gives a sense of pattern, and in the middle was a thistle standing upright, as if completely untouched. Or here is this also from 1999, an unusual crop circle called a wicker basket for obvious reasons. The wheat strands were literally intertwined. In the middle of this crop circle formed in 2000, which many of you may be familiar with, were three so-called nests or swirls, and in the middle of a formation 4 years later was a regular spiral. In 2009, this form of circles and arcs appeared in West Overton, England. Inside the central circle, the woven wheat fibers reappear. In one of the outer circles, a series of whirlpool-like shapes appeared, while in the other, 7 circles were formed by the wheat fibers. And in the same year, a formation appeared in a field of poppies, in which the delicate flowers were carefully laid out without any damage, and no footprints were found in the field. Check out this regular crop circle from 2013. It may seem simple at first glance, but on closer observation, the direction of the grain's tilting draws out a regular 6-pointed star with a circle in the middle and rotors between the star's branches. In Slovenia, in 2007, this completely intact bird's nest with eggs was found in the middle of a crop circle, which could not have been visible as long as the wheat was intact. And what many people don't know is that such formations have appeared in fresh snow, such as these circles found in the Netherlands, with no footprints leading to or from them. Well, none of the anomalies just listed apply to the poor quality imitations created by crop circle forgers. They are not even comparable. Misunderstandings and misconceptions. Now let's dispel a few misconceptions that so often arise on the subject. Many people think that crop circles are exclusive to England. Although it is a fact that they are more numerous there than in other parts of the world, they are found practically all over the planet, such as in America, in Canada, in Mexico, in Brazil, in the Netherlands, in Germany, in Italy, in Spain, in France, in Switzerland, in Norway, in Sweden, in Denmark, in Czech Republic, in Russia, in India, in China, in Japan, in South Korea, in Australia, and in Hungary. The second misconception is that the crop circles only appear in wheat. Crop circles have been found in soybean fields, canola, rice fields, the aforementioned poppy fields, grass, flax, oat fields, cornfields, marigold fields, nettles, and also in the aforementioned snow and forests. The third misconception is that real crop circles are geometrically perfect. Well, this is not true. Many people immediately dismiss asymmetric, irregular shapes as fakes. However, the biophysical anomalies mentioned earlier are just as common in irregular but real crop rings as in geometrically perfect ones. The next misconception is that crop circles always form at night. Although it is true that most are formed at night, some are formed during the day. One example is the famous Julia set, an intricate fractal shape that appeared in the late afternoon and was witnessed by several witnesses. Another daytime case occurred on the 3rd of August 2007 in Pusey. At 8 a.m., a runner passed a field where there was nothing out of the ordinary at the time. But an hour later, when he was walking back along the same route, there was a huge formation in the field. In the next video, I will continue this theme and look at the strange phenomena that have been seen in crop circles. Look at what information is hidden in these formations and talk about the smear campaign to ridicule the phenomenon in the eyes of more impressionable people. Be sure to leave a comment, like the video if you liked it. Check out my previous videos and be sure to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss my upcoming videos. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next part.